We will call this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask Councilor Thompson to read the mission statement, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Silver City is the hub of an inclusive community settled within a small town that through guided growth honors and preserves its historical, cultural, and natural heritage while facilitating jobs, health, and education resources such that the residents and visitors may enjoy and protect the recreational opportunities of the area and a high quality of life.
Thank you. First item with action on the agenda is public input. I just remind you, you have 5 minutes to speak. If you're looking at me, I'll try to give you a 1-minute warning. And first person is Lynn D. Welsh, reference to Silver City Fiber Arts Festival.
Thank you. I won't take too much of your time this evening, but what I'm going to talk about is, it relates to your mission statement for the area. I'm a member of the nonprofit Southwest Women's Fiber Arts Collective. Some of you may know we have the gallery, The Common Thread, here in Silver City. And that gallery enables about 60 local women to sell their work and make extra income. And I just wanted to make you aware of an exciting new event that we're going to be having this year in Silver City. And it'll be held at the Grant County Conference Center, but we want to tie in also to the town of Silver City. And it's the Silver City Fiber Arts Festival. And we'll be bringing in exhibits from different fiber art groups in the area. We're going to make it a kind of a community-wide event. We'll have fiber art exhibits, fashion show vendors will be bringing in for fine fiber art supplies. We'll be having classes, workshops, and demos. So we're going to have a little bit of everything. We'll also have a children's area because we really want to tie into the local community and have families come out and experience the fiber arts. We're going to be doing a lot of publicity and advertising, a lot of it regionally, because we hope to bring in people from all around the region, the neighboring states, northern New Mexico, and we'll be also working to tie in with the downtown galleries and promote not only our event at the Grant County Conference Center, but also downtown Silver as a destination for people to come for the festival, and then also to come to Silver City. So you'll be hearing more about this. It'll be November 11th and 12th, Veterans Day weekend, 11/11/11 and 11/12/11. It's a 2-day celebration, and I just wanted to kind of let you all know aware of what we're planning and what will be happening with that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only one that signed up for public input. We'll move on to council comments. Councilor Bedison, would you like to start?
Actually, I have no comments.
No, thank you. Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. See, I went to the Parks and Rec meeting. What they're working on is they're trying to go to other boards and town boards and committees and trying to see how they can coordinate their efforts. Also, I'm still working on the animal ordinance, and we're in the information gathering phase. So if you have comments on the animal ordinance or anything animal related, be sure you give me a call. That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Wiesman.
Words fail me. I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Councilor Moroni.
Thank you, Mayor. I met with the advisory committee for the Veterans Park, and they've come up with a great concept plan and vision, and hopefully future resources will materialize to help see that park materialize. And I think it would be a great thing to tie into the Parks and Rec Board, and I would love to compel any veterans organizations out there, if they're interested or have some granting opportunities, try to get in touch with that group. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody need round two? As many of you know, I've been in Santa Fe since legislative session started, and I'll be back again tomorrow. I just encourage everybody to really pay attention this year to what's going on up in Santa Fe during this session. Just in the first 4 days of the session, I have a computer program I use for tracking bills of interest to the municipality, and I've got close to 40 bills on my hospital, or my town tracking, another 40 on my hospital tracking, that some are beneficial to the town and some are not. As you go through there, we're going to see a lot of changes regarding your health care. And this session has at least started out to have a lot of issues that are definitely pertinent to the average citizen. And I would encourage everybody, go to the State of New Mexico website. You can go to the legislative page, link off of that. You can actually watch the sessions, and you can watch some of the committees while they're doing the work. And you can look up all the bills right off of that website. I know Councilor Thompson's already sent me one that was of interest to him, and please, if you have interest on specific legislation, send it to me. We'll make sure that we're watching it and trying to influence it one way or the other. Another thing I wanted to comment, I've had a couple of comments on where I've been, and this kind of follows what I just said, but just in the last few months, the travel schedule that I've had has been horrendous, and we've had many issues with P&M hearings and P&M meetings all over the state, as well as many others that I'm very thankful that Councilor Bedison has been able to fill in for me at these events, but I haven't lost interest in my job. I'm out working, doing my job, and sometimes I just can't be at all the events and fit them into the meetings. So thank you, and we're going to keep trying to meet expectations. And with that, we'll move on. How about any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council, January 11th, 2011.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 11th, 2011. And I did make one small spacing change, which doesn't show up in the minutes we have before us.
Anybody? Where was your change?
It was on the second page. I already talked with the town clerk, under B, the M and ORE and more are separated, so that's the single change that was made. Okay?
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council, January 11th, 2011, with the one correction. Is there any comments, questions? Hearing none, there's a motion and a second to approve as corrected. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is reports. Mr. Brown.
I just have one report. I just wanted to let the council know that through volunteer efforts, Nancy Gordon submitted an application to Freeport-McMoran for some grant funds to help work on what we call the old rock house. And Freeport has awarded us $39,200 to do some studies and some basic maintenance and help us with that building. and its historical nature. So I just want to thank Freeport for their assistance, and Nancy Gordon and the volunteers that she's working with. So I just wanted to give my thanks to them.
Let's make sure and send them a letter. I'd be happy to send. Is the roof okay right now?
Yes, the roof's okay right now. We're getting more definite costs on exactly what needs to be done. And we're waiting for the legislative session to see if we can afford anything or not. So,
I would wait. Is that it?
yes, sir. We have a report from the chief.
Mayor, City Council, just real quick comment. I provided both electronically and hard copies of the stats for 2010, which are also in comparison to 2009, and in some cases all the way back to 2006. So I know it's late that you got these stats. These stats will be put forth to the media tomorrow. And probably start appearing in the papers. I know you haven't had time to dig into it. Unless there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to wait till next council meeting to really dig into this. Unless, of course, you want to cover some of it.
I just want to clarify, all of the stats are based on reports to your department, not on confirmed incidents and things that go forward with prosecution?
I'm sorry?
The stats that you report on the specific crimes are based off of reports to your department, not necessarily actual incidents that move towards prosecution?
Correct. The way this report is derived from, I have several areas that I get my stats from. And if you take a look at the murder all the way down through motor vehicle theft, those are hand count stats that are reported to the Uniform Crime Reporting, which goes to the state and then to the FBI for reporting. So that's one area. The other area is the computer-aided dispatching system that we have in place through the SunGuard HTE and also through our records management system. Additional information through in the traffic crash report that you have was also obtained from the New Mexico Traffic Safety Bureau. So there's a number of different locations that this report to the City Council, which will ultimately go to the media, have a number of different avenues, if you will, where the information is developed. But as is, this base copy, the 2010-2009 stat comparison, is actually a document driven by what I produce through an Excel program. I get the information and I input it into that, and I come up with my stats on it.
Any questions? The chief will be back at the next meeting as well after we have time to review this. Councilor Thompson.
When you do your report, will you do an analysis as well as a summarization of the data? Will you, for example, when things pop out as being particular, say, could you give us maybe some notes about things that we might be able to do to prevent those occurrences in, say, a 5 or 10 year cycle?
Specific things. And I don't mean to interrupt, I apologize. Back a couple of years ago, I put together a summarized analysis of the information, and it was rather bulky. So I went to this type of providing of information on that. In the next couple of weeks, if the City Council or any member of has a question about any of the stats in there, please give me a call. I'll address it at the next City Council meeting, or provide you an email as to an explanation of it.
Councilor Thompson, we also the chief set some certain goals over this, at the beginning of the year, of some certain areas that they wanted to focus on, that they identified as problem areas, and that might be something that he can report on how they were able to address it, if they were able to address it, as well as some other traffic issues that we identified, that may be some issues that aren't under our direct control to be addressed, but those things we can bring up at the next meeting.
I think you can find the stats fairly easy to understand and read. Also, based on some input from various directions, we included a area where Silver City Crime Index based on population, which is at the bottom of the first page. Not only are rounded off 10,000 population for the city alone, but also projected a service population of conservatively 15,000, and gave indicators as to crime per population in all those categories, plus a couple of more. So it's fairly, tried to do it so that it's fairly understandable based on this. I also broke it down further into some crime categories. I gave a comparison to what we do compared to the sheriff's office, the number of calls for service, etc. And again, it's a matter of if there's any particular item that the city council wants me to expound on, I can. As for our projects for this year, we're not changing our programs. We're going to tweak our programs because we have specific issues that we want to address. We were very successful in our burglary area in dropping burglaries 22%, almost 22.5%. But we also had an increase in larcenies in specific areas. I broke the larcenies down in theft from motor vehicles, shoplifting, and other, which is incorporated into this document. So we had a marked increase in those areas. So not only are we going to address these areas, we continue to address our property crimes, but now we also have another avenue that we can do that with, which is our STAR unit, which is our Selective Traffic Enforcement Response Team. Our Traffic Enforcement Response Team concentrates not only on our high crash areas, but also in our high crime areas. We'll delegate them to attack specific areas. Our STAR unit started approximately October. Putting that back together, we had enough manpower to be able to do that again. So that's some of the areas. We want to, from the investigative point of view, we want to produce more cases through proactive measures. In other words, as an example, we put a vehicle out in areas that continually get hit in vehicle burglaries or thefts from vehicles, like Walmart. We did that, we were successful. We had an individual went and took some items out of the back of the vehicle. He was arrested at the scene and carted off. So we want to stay proactive. We want to stay not only proactive in that area, but also traffic enforcement to reduce the number of crashes and in our crime index area. So we're not going to change the programs that we currently have in place. We're just going to progress further.
Thank you, Chief. Just,
Okay.
I think I'm going to clarify a little bit of Councilor Thompson's in high school language. What I want to know is, as a council, when you analyze your department for last year and these statistics, I expect you to come back to us with what we can do if we need to set different policy, if you don't have resources. That's what I want to hear back as to what the council is directly tasked with providing, making sure that we're doing that, or we're able to note where we can't.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. The city manager and I have already had some discussions about manpower allocation issues, making some adjustments, possibly bringing more people on. As a point on that, if you take a look at the Uniform Crime Reporting Index, Silver City is just 2/10 below the actual national average for law enforcement officers for our population. But if you take into consideration what we talked about probably a year ago, I think it was about a year ago, as our service population, we're probably 10 below what we actually should be at. So we're already in discussion about possibly coming up with some manpower. We're in discussion, and I've made some movement in the department for the purpose of shoring up some of the issues, the community-oriented liaison area. I've temporarily moved a person into that, also into grounds. We're starting to have some issues with equipment, specifically vehicles. We have a number of 2001 vehicles still on the road and a number of 2005 vehicles on the road. But we're looking for grants to address those issues right at this point. At some point, we may come back and as a wish list, see if we can allocate some budgeting funds for additional purchase of vehicles. But right at this point, I understand, we can't. We have a loan from the previous purchase of vehicles that we're still paying on. So we have to look for other funding. But that's just one area. I understand what you're saying. I will be more than happy to provide more later.
And I know as Alex develops the budget, he'll meet with you and go over those issues as well as the other department heads. I don't want to think you're being excluded either. That part of our job is to make sure that we provide you the tools to successfully accomplish your jobs.
One other comment that I'd like to make, as for the noise ordinance that was just enacted, put in place, from the department's perspective, we have put at the patrol level some training together. We're in the process of looking at the equipment. It's probably going to be $3,000 to $5,000 for the equipment purchase, so we'll do the training on that. We're going to incorporate into the training and enforcement, code enforcement, our community enforcement officer, and our police officers. So we'll have a better range of individuals for specific tasks.
Excellent. Any questions for the chief? Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to give an update on the election?
I would like to announce that absentee voting at City Hall started today. So if anyone's interested in voting absentee, they can either come to City Hall or they can call me and I'll mail them an application. There's an application process involved. But it goes from today until February 25th. And another important thing is that if they want to register, they need to do it by February 1st at the clerk's office. They'll need to make sure their address is correct, their name is correct, or just to register to be in there. So they need to do that by February 1st.
Very good, thanks. Any other department heads, reports? Move along. Legal department? Don't want you to feel left out. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a public hearing. Approval, disapproval of resolution number 2011-02, approval of final plat of subdivision, development agreement, and protective covenants and restrictions for Vistas de Plata, an affordable housing subdivision consisting of a 27.5 acre tract of land into 56 parcels ranging in size from 2,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet. The tract of land consists of recently vacated portions of Reynolds Street, Newsham Street, Durango Street, Market Street, Kelly Street, 6th Street, 7th Street, 8th Street, College Street, 10th Street, and all of blocks 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 188, 189, 190, 191, and 192, including part of blocks 218 and 219, section 2 of the Fraser Survey. The applicant is the town of Silver City. The town council will serve as the hearing board, and I as mayor will be the presiding officer. Have any members of this hearing board had ex parte discussion with any person regarding the subject matter of this hearing, or had any communication from any party to this case? Hearing none, you're all qualified. Will all parties and witnesses intending to testify, including those staff members who intend to present testimony or who will be available for questioning, please rise and come to the podium to be sworn in by the town clerk. If you have not been sworn, you will not be permitted to testify or otherwise participate in this hearing. It's here somewhere. Yes.
Before you give testimony, please state your name and address.
The hearing will be conducted as follows. The town staff shall present a brief synopsis of the application based on the application or actions taken by the director, by P&Z Commission, or by town staff. Then the applicant shall present their case. Next will come witnesses in support of applicant's case. The applicant, staff, or witnesses may then be questioned by the hearing board. The presiding officer will then ask the applicant if that concludes its case in chief, and states that the proponents and its witnesses will remain available to be further questioned by the hearing board, by staff, or by opponents to the application. Following the close of the applicant's case, witnesses in opposition to the applicant's case shall be permitted to testify, during the course of which the witness may address questions to any previous witness, but such questions shall be made to the presiding officer. The presiding officer shall have the sole discretion in directing the question for response, considering whether the question is relevant, is cumulative to other testimony, or is otherwise inappropriate. At the close of testimony against the application, the presiding officer asks the applicant if there's anything else you wish to be reflected in the record. And if I could just ask everybody, when you testify for the first time tonight, if you would please state your name and address for the record. And I guess you'll be presenting for the staff, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Mike Ely from the Community Development Department. Following the work on our housing plan, we've determined that many working families find home ownership an unaffordable dream. A significant portion of the population receive wages that are not keeping pace with the rapidly increasing costs of housing, both existing and newly developed. As a result, the town is embarking on an affordable workforce housing project entitled Vistas de Plata. State law requires any government agency interested in pursuing an affordable housing project to first provide a housing plan to the Mortgage Finance Authority, and their approval followed by approval of the governing body of the local entity. The housing plan has been approved by MFA and this council.
Concurrently, town staff has been working with Decker Parish Sabatini Architects and their subcontractors to produce plans and specifications for a 56-lot subdivision to be built on town-owned land situated south of 10th Street and west of Mountain View Road. The final plat is being presented at this meeting for council's approval. Also, town staff and consultants have been diligently working on 2 affordable housing ordinances. Both have been approved by the MFA. In addition to the general ordinance number 1169, which allows the town to donate property, there is a second ordinance number 1170, which will be heard tonight, which will specifically donate property to the Vistas de Plata project. Ordinance number 1169 had its final reading at the January 11th meeting by the council. Following approval of ordinance number 1170, the land will eventually be donated to the homeowner. These homes will be made affordable since the town is donating the lots and the infrastructure being built with grant funds. This is allowed as a result of the Affordable Housing Act. The homes will be purchased by the homeowners. These homes will be available to the general public, and essential workers will have priority. The purpose of this project is to assist the town, the hospital, the university, border area mental health, and other agencies and businesses with recruiting and retaining employees. This project is also designated to provide the town and the surrounding area with assistance with economic development by providing homes for future employees. Staff is recommending approval of the final plat, and we have members of the architectural firms and the engineering firms here to comment.
Any other staff report? That concludes that?
Yes, sir.
Next comes witnesses in support of the application.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good afternoon. My name is Tim Grattan. My address is 515 West Market Street. I'm here also representing Decker Parish Sabatini, we're acting as an agent for the application for the city. Again, good afternoon. I hope you all can hear me. I think last time we had some problems with the mic up here, and some of you couldn't hear me. You're okay tonight? Great, thank you. This works much better tonight. Not sure how much more I can add to what Mr. Ely has already presented. What you have in front of you, you have 2 packages. What you received from the staff was the full engineering package with all of the engineering drawings that are required for a final plat submittal according to the land use code of the town of Silver City. What I've handed you now are just some colored graphic representations of what we think the final site plan and the final plat will look like. Also included in the package that I just handed you is a kind of an enlarged plan of the first phase, the first 2 phases that we have planned for the subdivision. And also in the back are some preliminary schematic floor plans, elevation studies of what we think these homes will be looking like. We're still working with Mr. Ely, with Peter Russell and others on finalizing those plans, but we thought that you might be interested in seeing what we're planning going down the road. In terms of our schedule, we met today on our schedule, assuming that we get your approval tonight, and that the ordinance that goes with this is also approved. We will then file the plat with the city as needed and proceed with 2 different packages of drawings. The first one being what we call the civil engineering package, that will define all of the construction requirements for streets, utilities, pad sites, all of the engineering work. That will be one package. We hope to have that finished in the next couple of months and ready to advertise for bid. If we can stay on track, then we would probably be bidding that, I believe it was May time frame. So we could get started on this, assuming we get good bids, which I think we will. We could get started on the first phase of this sometime in late April or May. We're thinking that that's probably a 6-month construction time to complete the infrastructure, the streets, utilities, grading and drainage, all of those issues. Concurrently, we'll be working on the final designs for the units themselves and producing a bid package on those. That will be a separate bid package. It will be advertised, and hopefully we can get that out also to where we have bids received on a couple of the units. It'll be models, and also get unit prices on the different model types. We'll have that in hand, hopefully, and a contractor signed up before the civil infrastructure is completed, which we think will be sometime in October. Other than that, I think we're ready to answer any questions or address any concerns you may have.
Any questions?
Do we have the funding in place right now to complete up to what phase?
We can, we're not sure at this point if we're going to complete all of Phase 1 or we can get into Phase 2, but we have enough funding there that we don't want to push it. We want to make sure that we have plenty of funds to go as far as we've designed, and we have plenty of funding to do Phase 1.
Any other witnesses in support of the application? Here. Are you're satisfied and your department satisfied that the application is complete and meets your requirements?
Yes, sir.
We had addressed an issue sometime back about the lot sizes.
Yes, sir. You granted a variance in order to allow for some duplexes to be constructed on smaller lots. Meaning that each side of the duplex would be separately owned and it would be on its own lot. But the intent of a duplex is to allow for a smaller dwelling unit. It would accommodate the off-street parking that would be required.
You may.
When you mention that you can complete Phase 1, A and B,
Yes, sir.
will you be putting in any infrastructure at this time for any of the other phases, or will the infrastructure that you put in for Phase 1 be self-contained?
No, you want to answer? Go ahead. No, please.
Mr. Scavron, the intent, as far as the utility infrastructure goes, is that we would have with Phase 1 just what's needed for Phase 1, with the exception of sanitary sewer. Sanitary sewer, by its very nature, has to be extended all the way down and connect downstream. So that portion of the utilities would be the entire thing, but the water, gas, power would only be installed at this time for Phase 1. That's needed for Phase 1.
Is the water going to follow the same course as the sewer line?
To a point, yes. At one point, the sewer actually diverges off, and I don't know if you have it in front of you. It's a little red line you see on your site plan there. So, for the most part, it follows the future road that will connect all the way from Kelly Street up to 10th Street. But the water line will follow that road. The sanitary sewer does make a loop.
Part of the plan, if you can look at it, is there are some blank spaces in between the two parts of the subdivision, and the intent is that those could also be developed at some future date, and they could piggyback off of the infrastructure that's going into place today and the infrastructure that will go into place in the future for future phases of this particular subdivision.
My other question I have is on covenants. We don't typically enforce covenants because that goes into civil, and the owners of the properties in a subdivision are left with enforcing covenants. However, we're putting covenants on, and we're the developer as a town. How do the covenants What burden does those covenants put back on the town going forward? Either one of you.
Well, the intent of the covenant is to assure that a certain standard of maintenance is kept, development. At some point, the city will be out of it because all of the parcels will have been sold. But in the interim, it is the intent of the city to be a party to the enforcement of the covenants.
The covenants will run with the land, and the fact that all the lots are sold will not end our responsibility. I don't see anything in the covenants that says when the last lot is sold. Normally, the covenants run with the land, and we will be forever able to enforce covenants. There's no legal obligation to do it. Normally, we don't get involved with homeowners associations. This is a town-owned project, and we have a vested interest because we're providing the infrastructure, and we're going to have some overview by NMMFA. So, in this case, it is advantageous for us to be actually named as one who can bring action to enforce covenant. It doesn't obligate us to, but it gives us the right to. The homeowners are typically the ones that bring action. It's usually a neighbor or a neighborhood or a homeowners association. I don't know if there's any plan to eventually have a homeowners association. At some future time, if the town is comfortable with the way the subdivision has developed and is being managed by its residents, we could amend the covenants, but that will take, I don't know if there's any provision in there for what percentage of the homeowners have to agree. The town cannot unilaterally change the covenants once they're recorded. Well, if we retain developer rights, maybe we can. But I think that when a certain percentage of the lots are sold, then to change the covenants will require the involvement of the homeowner. So it's been a policy in private matters not to involve the town in enforcing covenants. In this development, it will be the policy of the town to have the right to establish the right in these documents to enforce. But again, there's no obligation to.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, going along with what Mr. Scaveron has said, we felt since this is a city development and we want to make sure that it is maintained and kept clean, and normally, as it's been mentioned, the city does not get involved with looking after the covenants, but since this is a city project, we want code enforcement to do that, to enforce these covenants.
It just puts code enforcement in a strange position that they're not normally in. I'm reading the paragraph duration, section 1. It basically says these covenants last from the time filed through January 1 at 12 a.m. of 2021, and then extended 10 years thereafter, and can be terminated by 2/3 of the lot owners and the developer. So that pretty well answers my question, that we're covered, at least under our obligation from our funders and MFA through 2021. Any other testimony?
Just, we have staff here and designers to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions? Questions? If there's no questions, does that conclude your case as the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that does. Thank you very much.
Are there any witnesses present in opposition to the application? Seeing no opposition coming forward, is there anything else you wish to be reflected in the record? No, sir. Any other questions from the hearing board? Is the hearing board prepared to consider the application and render its decision?
Yes.
Who would like the floor?
Mayor, I move to approve final plat of subdivision, development agreement, and protective covenants and restrictions for Vistas de Plata, an affordable housing subdivision consisting of a 27.5 acre tract of land into 56 parcels ranging in size from 2,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet. The tract of land consists of recently vacated portions of Reynolds Street, Newsham Street, Durango Street, Market Street, Kelly Street, 6th Street, 7th Street, 8th Street, College Street, 10th Street, and all of blocks 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 150, 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 188, 189, 190, 191, and 192, including part of blocks 218 and 219, Section 2 of the Fraser Survey. The applicant is the council.
Mr. Mayor,
To approve resolution number 2011-02.
Councilor Wiensman.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion stated.
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2011-02. Any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2011-02. I'm not going to read it again. Is everybody on this board comfortable with what they're voting on?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Morano.
Aye.
Councilor Winslow.
Aye.
Councilor Thompson.
Aye.
Councilor Edison.
Aye.
Motion carries, and that concludes this hearing. Whoa. We'll move on to next item on the agenda under new business, item A, approval, disapproval of notice of intent, ordinance number 1170, an ordinance allowing the town of Silver City to grant land and infrastructure improvements to Vista de Plata, an affordable workforce housing project. Mr. Ely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, this is a notice of intent to adopt ordinance number 1170, an ordinance authorizing the donation of land to the Vistas de Plata Affordable Housing Project. There are 3 steps in the affordable housing process. The first is to have an affordable housing plan approved by the Mortgage Finance Authority and then have the same housing plan approved by the town. This step is complete. The second step is to have approved by MFA and the town an ordinance giving the town authority to make a donation to an affordable housing project as required by the State Affordable Housing Act. This was accomplished by ordinance number 1169, and the final reading of that took place at your last meeting. The third step is to approve an ordinance which transfers the ownership of the land and infrastructure to Vistas de Plata, the town's affordable housing project. This ordinance has been approved by the Mortgage Finance Authority as far as their content. The purpose of this project is to assist the town, as I mentioned previously, the hospital, the university, Ward Area Mental Health, and other agencies and businesses in recruiting and retaining employees. This project is also designed to provide the town with the surrounding area with economic development incentives. Vistas de Plata assists the town in accomplishing the housing goals enumerated in the Brewer Hill Plan, the Comprehensive Plan, and the Housing Plan. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of ordinance number 1170.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor.
I move for a short recess.
Seconded.
There's a motion and a second for a short recess. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're in recess. Be back shortly. Call this meeting back to order, and we left off right after Mike had introduced NOI 1170. Anything else?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Russell suggested that it'd probably be a good idea if I would clarify an issue, that once the town is in a position to donate this property, once we sell the house, the property is donated to that particular landowner, and they own the property and the house. And we don't maintain any ownership once that's made. But in order for us to do that legally and deal with the anti-donation law, this ordinance has to be passed.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions? Any comments, questions from the audience? Hearing none? Entertain a motion.
I do have a question. I could have asked before, but can I ask a quick question?
You may.
On the final plat that we just adopted, are there common areas?
Yes.
And is ownership of the common areas retained by the town?
Yes. The parking lots and, some recreation areas that will be
Just to
maintained.
clarify that the lots we will not have ownership of,
Right.
but we will retain ownership of common areas.
Okay, I want to go back then to... Okay. So I'm glad you asked that, thank you. All the green space that's above and below this land will remain town property?
That's correct.
And it's going to be mostly natural or
That's right.
landscape?
Natural.
Natural helps. Thanks. Any other comments, questions? Councilor Morales?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve notice of intent ordinance number 170, an ordinance allowing the dedication of land and infrastructure improvements to an affordable workforce housing project for subsequent transfer to a qualified purchaser. And I would like the change on page 2 of 6.
Your motion's fine, we can do amendments.
We can, okay.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated for ordinance 1170.
There's a motion and a second to approve NOI ordinance number 1170. Councilor Morales, amendments.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the amendment to, on page 2 of 6, on the third whereas on that page, to change the word from the town desires to grant to transfer. Change grant to transfer. Help make it consistent with the rest of the document.
You'll also notice that when he read it, he changed the title. He made an amendment in the title in his motion.
And that's a good amendment.
Any objection to the amendment? No. There's a motion and a second and an amendment. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Joe just got here. You want to see if we...
Could we have a few minutes to work on technical issues?
It's important enough. I'd like to give it the best effort.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor,
I move for a short recess.
Seconded.
there's a motion and a second for a short recess. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're in recess. We'll call this meeting of the Town Council back to order, and the next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2011-001, a resolution expressing the willingness of the town council to donate 6.5 acres to Jonathan Reed and Associates to support a tax credit project in the Brewer Hill area. Mr. Russell.
Mr. Mayor, this is a project to construct 60 townhouses for affordable housing rentals in the Brewer Hill area. It's the type of project that's recommended in the housing plan, and it's supported by the housing agencies in this area. Mr. Ely's plan that you heard earlier is a project to provide housing ownership. The houses will be constructed and sold to people at affordable prices. This particular project is a project that will provide rentals, affordable rentals to people. It's supported by a tax credit scenario. It's a fairly complicated scenario. It involves lots of partners, and they're here tonight to present specifically what they would like to do. The city's role is to, of course, support this, and an essential element is, again, a transfer of property to make this project possible. The people that will be speaking tonight are Jonathan Reed, of Jonathan Reed and Associates, who will be the developer of this project, Krishna Reddy of Global Structures, which is a construction firm that works closely with Mr. Reed on projects such as this. Mr. Reed will also talk briefly about the architects that he's contracting with to design this. And then there is Jerry Wells here with Southwestern Regional Housing and Community Development Corporation. He's the executive director of that. He will be the managing partner in this particular project. What I hope is that you will hear the presentations that these people have, and then we would all be available to answer any questions that you might have.
Just to clarify, it's the Vista de Plata that Mike's been working on for years is affordable housing.
Yes.
This is actually a low-income housing.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Thank you, councilors and mayor, for allowing us to present tonight. My name is Jonathan Reed again, and I run a for-profit real estate development firm, but all I do is affordable housing. Since about 1996, I've partnered with around 7 or 8 nonprofit groups, and we've assembled about 17 projects in Colorado and New Mexico, mainly New Mexico. The reason we approached Silver City was really overwhelmingly obvious, which was that the town has spent so much time and money, at least in my opinion, from the other places I've worked, gearing up for this very day. It wasn't just the land that's been acquired over some time. It isn't just the sewer lines and that kind of thing, and storm drains, and all the planning reports that were done. And in our affordable housing world, it's everything. And being able to work in Brewer Hill, when it was actually identified in your community investment plan, or neighborhood comprehensive plan, I'm sorry, was particularly exciting for us. We feel there's a demonstrated need in the community for this project. We have a rent range that we think is really appealing for Silver City, especially as your market, as the market here matures. I think our opinion is that it's only going to get more and more scarce. The idea of finding clean, safe, affordable housing that families can afford, that maybe don't have a full median income or even above that. This project is built in a townhouse configuration with a community building. Every project that I've been involved with, and I think almost all of them are approved by the MFA, have a community building. And within the community building, we sort of use it as a multi-purpose facility and maybe even take full advantage of it more than we envision at the beginning. So in this case, I have other slides that will show you, but we have all sorts of neat social services we're endeavoring to do, and the building itself as well will house a lot of that activity within the project. If you want, you could advance to the next slide. And I apologize for our technical issues we had earlier. It wasn't good. This is our unit mix. We'd like to focus on families, but you don't want to completely limit yourself to families as well. So we have a portion of the units at 2-bedroom and even a small sliver of them at 4. In checking the rental market here and looking in the want ads and rental agencies and that kind of thing, and the Housing Authority input we've had, there's a fair number of smaller units, but we felt that this was pretty sensitive to the community, and it's also much more viable financially, too, to make with this program. It's very hard to do studios. I found studios don't work so well long-term anyway for the community. You have a lot of turnover, a lot of transition, and we have a lot more stability with a little bit larger unit size. Here, as you can see on the slide, these are approximate square footages. Our 2s are around 750 to 800 square foot each heated. Our 3-bedroom units are 2-bath, and they're approximately 1,040 to 1,050 square foot heated. And our 4-bedroom unit is about 1,225 square foot heated with 2 baths also. You could, if you want, I'm sorry, the community building is around 2,100 to 2,000 square foot heated. If you'd like to, sorry, you can advance to the next one. This is the community building I was referring to earlier. And we'd like to use the community room when we do our other projects for all sorts of parties, meetings, education programs, first-time buyer programs, credit repair, ESL sometimes, depending on who's available to do that sort of programmatic involvement here. We always have a kitchenette, and we will certainly have one here. Of course, a leasing office, a computer learning center. We'll try to get the wireless into the building. We have had trouble with hubs going down on some of our other projects. A gym or a fitness center, and we'll also have laundry hookups within all the units, but we'll also have a laundry room as well for those either can't afford their own units, or if they have like their machines break or something like that. So it's a backup measure. You're welcome to flip to. I know one of the main concerns in the community was over social services, and MFA, the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, and we'll get into a little more if you'd like about the funding of the project and kind of how it's structured and who's involved. I don't want to bore you with that too badly, but I can if you'd like. MFA has a new structure more or less this year. It's at least new to me this year, and they've broken up the whole state of New Mexico into areas. Some have and some do not have local lead agencies. Silver City, according to MFA, doesn't yet really have one. So unfortunately, we can't really commit. We can't tell you what services we're going to provide out there. What we can tell you is it'll rival things like this. MFA will select the local lead agency. They'll get in contact with the team, and then together we'll work out the services that they feel are most needed in this community. These are the sorts of things that, well, Jerry will be speaking in a moment, Jerry Welch, with Southwestern Regional Housing and Community Development Corporation of Deming, formerly Luna County Housing Authority. But this is the sort of thing that we would be offering probably there, subject to the local lead agency. We'd like to help these groups. I personally have had really good luck at our other projects with the children's reading program. It's one of the most effective things. It's simply reading books to kids on Saturdays. And it's amazing how, if you can get the kids that sense of wonder, that all the neat things that come from reading, you can break some of the bad cycles that can surface in families in the projects, in the developments like this. And also, if you can really address the kids, sometimes the parents come around too, and you can create a better sense of community within the community. Anyway, that's the sort of thing we do. Jerry's group, I believe he'll speak on that, but he will be doing, I believe, first-time buyer and credit counseling without any question. I mean, that's something that they're going to do anyway. We're committing to that. You're welcome to, okay. I mentioned earlier that what attracted us to Silver City was all of the efforts that have already been invested. It was as though the town, at least from my perspective as a grant writer and a developer of this sort of housing, was almost custom prepared for this sort of endeavor. I mean, this is exactly what the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority values. They value having a community plan like the Brewer Hill Plan or the Chihuahua Hill Plan. They value the plan linking a need for affordable housing and actually saying that, which it does in the Brewer Hill Plan. And they value all of the infrastructure upgrades and the census tract that we're in, 9844, for instance, that's a very special one. And of course, the donated site makes or helps make the numbers work all the better. We have a pretty ambitious design out there, and then we believe we may run into some site issues as far as rock and that kind of thing. So it's very much needed in this project. I think that's it for this slide. We can move on to that. These are our rent ranges. These are based on utility numbers that your housing authority, Kathy DeMarco, releases. And the new numbers are coming out soon. The new numbers are supposed to be higher. So when the utilities go up, the rents go down. We have to subtract out the utilities from a gross rent number that gives you a net rent number like these on the screen. So our eventual rents for 2011, although it won't be built in 2011, would be along these lines, probably even a little lower when those new numbers come out. Every tenant has to pay their own gas and electric as well. We pay water, trash, sewer, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty standard rental community in that regard. We do accept Section 8, I think you have another tax credit project in town, and we're excited and eager to participate with the program. You're welcome to flip. One of the main concerns I've also heard besides social services is where's the money coming from, and does the town have any sort of liability or further obligations, if you will, with this program? Let me begin just by explaining what this is. These are the sources where the money's coming from. The 7.3 million, these are approximate, but they're pretty close, is through the MFA, but it's really from the IRS. It's a tax credit. It's a federal program. And every state has like an MFA equivalent. They're called an allocating agency. And we're no exception. And so MFA allocates this funding between the projects that score the best. So we have to very competitively compete against a lot of other developers and many other jurisdictions they're trying to do exactly the same thing. Hopefully not exactly the same thing, but pretty close. The 7.3 million is cash to the project. We don't see it, but it's a grant, and they're called the low-income housing tax credits. We'll get into it a little later if people would like. I have a little summary slide to try to explain how that works. The next one is just a federal loan through the MFA of $225. Excuse me. The next one is this site actually qualifies under the USDA, and the Farmers Home Program, that is, has a 538 loan. It's just a low interest rate loan. It's a good loan. It's a 40-year mortgage. And then we'll be investing, depending on what happens out in the construction site, somewhere between about 25 and 300,000. We pray no anomalies and things go smoothly in the field. Anyway, our total sources there are close to $9 million, 8.9, and we're averaging, again, about $149,000 per unit in our total project cost. We feel our project cost is probably at or above what you'd do if you were building a market rate deal. MFA has a very strong emphasis on green, on sustainability, on ecological sensitivity and layout and design. There's even a design competition we have to enter, we want to enter, both. And we'll see in a moment our other pictures, so feel free to. Okay, this is the slide I was fearing showing you because it could be an all-night, I'm kidding, I can talk forever about this, but basically in 1986, the tax code was rewritten, and there used to be double declining depreciation, a very aggressive depreciation, and that was eliminated, and in its place was this affordable housing tax credit program. And what it is a large company who has lots of federal income taxes, and they don't want to pay those. So what they do is they buy the tax credit, and they get a dollar-for-dollar reduction in what they owe the IRS. In return for that deduction, they pay something. And the price, it's privately market-driven, and right now it's about 70 cents, 71 cents on the dollar. Here, there's approximately $1 million per year over a 10-year period. So $10 million over, if you're willing to wait that long, and they are, that's how the program works. Corporation receives $1 million every year for 10 years of direct dollar-for-dollar savings in their income taxes. And today they invest about $7 million. I think I said earlier 7.267, but around $7 million today in order to receive $10 million over 10 years, if that makes sense. So, there's investors that buy them. I mentioned large companies. They tend to be like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chevron. Those are the three of the larger purchasers of these. It used to be Fannie Mae. Not anymore, I don't think, for a while. Maybe a long while. I think that's how it works. I don't think there's anything too much more to discuss unless you'd like to discuss it. The town has no liability with these credits whatsoever. The tax credit investor is private. They buy the credit, and they become a limited partner for the duration of the credit. It's a 10-year credit, and after the 10 years are up, there's another 5 years. So you have an investor that Jerry's group will partner with for 15 years, and they're limited. He's a general. And as long as the project is maintained well, code compliant, rented to affordable households, excuse me, my voice is going, everything's fine, if you'd like it. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. But this is our development team. We actually have Krishna Reddy here tonight, and he heads up the Global Structures Group, which is a subsidiary of Jane's here in Albuquerque. I believe they're the largest builder in the state, if not one of the largest, and they do a lot of public facilities, and lately a lot of affordable housing and multifamily. So we're really thank you so much. We're very happy to have them involved. Their group has done a number of these. They have photographs of them, and they're very nice, and they've done a good job with them. Excuse me. The architect, this group, Autotroph, has actually won the design competition the last 3 or 4 years, and they're in Santa Fe. I'm really excited about their work. They have, like I may have mentioned, a lot of community emphasis. They're very involved in sustainable and green and design, and what they're trying to do here is create a sense of community out there that is hard to do. So when people want to shut the door, they try to create opportunities for public space, for people. You can do that a little bit by design, by instilling an environment where people are more inclined. I mean, you can't force them to, but to talk, go outside, meet, spend time in the community building, that kind of thing. The actual nonprofit sponsor and general partner is, as I may have mentioned, Jerry Welch's group, and he's here to speak also for a few. Southwestern Regional Housing, CDC, out of Deming. I'm the developer. That means I do a lot of the paperwork, if not most of the paperwork on the project. There's a tremendous amount. There's an initial notebook, there's another one, there's 3 or 4 large ones, and a whole lot of wrangling for about 3 straight years, 2.5. I personally have this property manager, UAH, and I really like them a tremendous amount. All they do is affordable housing. They have about 9,000 units, and right now they manage 6 projects of my companies, and since we've gone with them, we've been extremely pleased, and a lot of hands-on attention. The place looks great, and the rents are coming in, and people are happy, and that's what we'd like to do. We don't know who's going to be the construction lender. We've asked our investor to serve as that until we either find a local lender who might be interested, like a local bank, or we'll call a national bank. Our preference is local, so feel free to advance if you want. One of the other questions, I think that was one of the 3 big points, was the first one was social services. The other one was, where's the money come from, and what's the town's obligation? And the third one I've heard from Mike, through Mike Ely, is how might this benefit the town? And we found historically, and I think the experts that study urban planning and that kind of thing, we believe that when you improve the housing stock, or at least create some new housing stock in an area that has been identified like Brewer Hill, you can do some good things. The household that may have been struggling, where a single-parent household may have been struggling to go to night school or send their kids to daycare or something like that, maybe that person now can stay home a little bit more. We offer a fair amount of services. We will be in the community building, and we've seen it actually foster a lot of stability. A lot of the people end up buying homes eventually. I mean, it's not a guarantee. But, these objectives I mentioned earlier are in your Brewer Hill plan. I mentioned the services. Generally speaking, the goal of this program with the IRS is to actually help people regain autonomy. It's not, the old historic affordable housing was to get a family in and keep them in, and the government picks up the rent tab, and you kind of you foster almost dependency. And the irony is this program, once you're in, with some exceptions, pretty much you can make what you make. You do have to qualify to move in initially. So the program almost encourages people, I think it actually does, to not only work, but actually to move out. And so our dream tenant is someone who lives there as long as they need to, but around 2 to 2.5 years, and we hopefully can help another family. And these services do help out that whole plan. I can't speak for anyone else, but the builder has already committed, and I know we've done that ourselves in the past, to hiring as many local people as we can, hiring and trying to use local suppliers. So he's at least, at a very minimum, he'll speak on that. He's going to include, if there's any names submitted to him, local participants, to interview them and screen them for the job. I think other than that, all the normal things that you get when you bring in that many households into a newer project, as far as shopping and all the ancillary services they demand. And then I have found personally in Colorado, we attracted some pretty serious grants by virtue of doing affordable housing in Mancos and Cortez, Colorado. And the affordable housing was the magnet. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have been able to get the CDBG or the infrastructure grants. I know here you're in Colonias, sorry. So maybe it's already taken care of. I forgot what the next slide is. Oh, okay. These are just a few pictures. You can keep going if you want. This is one in Colorado. This here actually is one in New Mexico, Texaco, which is on the Texas border, Farwell, the opposite side of the state, of course. Same thing. These are townhomes, open parking, 3- and 4-bedroom units. A very similar rent structure, $400 or $500 type rents, $600. This is I apologize, it's a vertical picture and a horizontal screen, but this is a little project we did in Clovis. Same thing, support services, community building, fitness center, computer learning center, I believe. We'll be doing a lot like that one, except HUD now requires a regulation kind of rubber mesh for the children when they fall off the slide, so they don't kill themselves in the sand. I don't know what else is. These are actually pictures of projects my firm put together many years ago. The top one is 61 single families in Durango. These pictures are obviously taken midstream. We did eventually finish the project. It does have landscaping, curb gutter, paving, and all the rest, and paint. The middle project I did in conjunction with the Housing Authority in Cortez. Bottom one was done with a Rural Housing Inc., a nonprofit in Albuquerque, and we did 60 units in Farmington on the bottom, but you can't see it, so I apologize. Here, 144 units, same program. Every one of these had the same funding program. This is in Gallup, 3 phases, 40, 52, and 52. Same thing, social services, community building. We've seen a lot of exciting stories there. People buying homes, being able to go to night school, teach their kids when they couldn't otherwise. Some people have 3 jobs and moving in here, and they've been able to cut down quite a bit and focus a little more on the family. Clovis, 42 units, not a good picture, I apologize again. It was taken because we were repairing a fence, but it's my best picture at the moment. Parkside Village, Clovis, 42 units, same program, townhomes, 3- and 4-bedroom as well, I believe. I have one other PowerPoint presentation from the architect I would love to show you if it's all right, if time permits. We do have 2 other speakers, brief. They won't go as long as I have.
How long is your...
I have 5 more minutes. And then I think we have 10 more minutes total.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What we've done, the architect I may have mentioned, Autotrope, is trying to work very closely in conjunction with Mike and with the town and with Peter and the direction of the planning department. We noticed how Broadway someday might be extended, and so we very carefully platted it into our project, a pathway, so that when that day comes, if and when Broadway is ever extended, our project will perfectly be suited for that. And we've even oriented our clusters around Broadway. We have our front doors facing Broadway, and so if it ever connects, it'll not only loop our project into the downtown, which I think would be great, but it also loops us into Vistas de Plata and the rest of the city in the northeast corner. This is our site plan, subject to change, but it's pretty close. I believe this is what we're submitting to the MFA for the grant. It's about 6.5 acres. the site is at a pretty serious gradient, so what we've had to do is some pretty fancy step grading, I think they're called turn downs, and Krishna can speak to construction issues if you'd like, but that Broadway is depicted right there, if you can see it in the middle of, roughly the middle of the slide. We cannot afford to pave it, but we're leaving it ready, paving ready. So if a grant comes along, it can be paved. Right now, we want to use it as open space for the tenant. But we want to accommodate the future, and we don't want to get in the way either. I think that's it. And right in the middle of it, I suppose, is the community building. If you look carefully, it says com.bldg. And again, that's where a lot of the services will be held. We're paving the street on the bottom, so that those are the front, well, I believe those are their front doors on the bottom. And the other street on the top, we're paving, not Yankee, but the one in the middle. I don't think it has a name yet. Feel free to advance if you want. The architect, after scouring all over town, looking at various housing and situations and retail and all that in the history, he believes that we'd like to tap into the mining theme, and so we want to incorporate a mining theme in the development. And so we use some of these old structures as sort of a really neat inspiration for moving forward. This is just a very typical view of one of the clusters. I believe we're standing on Broadway, kind of looking up the hill, looking towards the east, towards Vista de Plata. We've got a metal roof. We've got some very high efficiency rating here. I believe we're past silver lead and maybe even gold lead. That's the last I've heard. It's right now it's in flux, but we're getting better and better as we research it and make changes. Some of the units are one story, most are two. So that's why you have the pop outs, the configuration. But feel free to. I think this is one of the more interesting design components, at least from my perspective. As I may have mentioned earlier, we're entering a design competition, and the only way to do it is to have design that either takes the project somewhere, if you will, in terms of themes, or captures a local trend in design. Here, as you can see, we've even talked to someone, and I don't know who it is, I confess, within the town who may have a source, or someone the architect spoke with, for some actual historic timbers that will have structural rigidity but still have a lot of a neat mining historic theme. This is the community building, as it says, and what you see on the bottom, that's just the grade. That's the grade of the site, and they represented it like that. The main entrance would not be from this side. It'd be from, there's two doors on it, which are kind of in the middle of the building. We have other photos. I don't know if they're in this program or not. Is that the last of the? Okay. So on that note, I'm done, and I'd like Jerry Welch to come up, if you don't mind, with Southwestern Regional Housing CDC of Deming, and speak a little bit as to the programs and his group. And I'll step aside here.
I'll be brief. My name is Jerry Welch, and I am the Executive Director of the Southern New Mexico's Housing and Community Development. We're a nonprofit, 503C. Our mission is to improve quality of life for residents in southwestern New Mexico. I said southeast, just moved from Roswell. Southwestern New Mexico, and primarily, again, through housing, low and moderate income housing. We've been serving the three counties as Luna County Housing Corporation, and then this year we've just changed our name and included Catron and Sierra County along with Grant, Hidalgo, and Luna. We've been serving in Grant County for some time through the individual homeowner rehab program. But we're also a HUD Chodo organization, and we also can function as developer or partner in the multifamily unit. And so we're functioning here as a general partner and a guarantor for the project. And as that role, I'm very interested in making certain that what we have is quality. I don't want to have problems with construction for years, because we have to stand for that if there are issues. So I'm very concerned about that. Also, as Mr. Reed brought out, I was really excited to see this group that came together. I mean, the experience and the energy that's in there. The architects are impressive. I'm very, very disappointed that they were not able to make it here, but they swore they were working on this project tonight, so they didn't show up. So, but these are, the architects are a young group with a lot of good ideas, and they brought out, they've won the design contest from MFA's design program 3 out of the last 4 years. We've asked them to please design this project with the idea to win it another year. So we want the design to be outstanding and unique. We also have engaged a group that is specializing in the LEED and HERS ratings to make sure that the homes are built with quality for efficiency. And as Mr. Reed mentioned, that we were thinking we might go silver, but in talking with this group, the gold or above. In fact, he said we're not very far from platinum in my last conversation with him. We're looking now like the type of water heaters, the most efficient type on demand, that sort of thing to be put in there. So we want the latest technology that's going to help us to gain that design. But I think you're going to be thoroughly impressed with, and it'll add a sense of pride to the community when we have this structure done, and it also will have quality. So it should remain in condition, presentable as a community, outstanding community project for many years to come. And I just got to tell you again, this couldn't have happened just from the points of MFA if it wasn't for the leadership in the city being willing to step forward and I guess lack of a better term, put some skin in the game here. Show your interest and support of the project through your contributions, not only in the site preparation but the land too. It would not have got off the ground without that 10% that we're able to show with your assistance. So I want to thank you for that, and I think we're going to do something that's really good for the city. Now I want to introduce Mr. Reddy from the Global Structures. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Krishna Reddy. I'm with Global Structures. I'll be real brief. Most of our work is after we break ground. So we are part of a construction company that's been around about 60 years. My subsidiary was created specifically to address and build multifamily projects. Our slides here show some of our past projects. All these, the next 3 slides are all tax credit projects, just like Jonathan described. This one was in downtown Albuquerque, 72 units. This won the design competition last year, or like 2 years ago. It was completed last year. Next one. This is a senior housing project in Santa Fe, also a tax credit project. It's 136 units. This was completed 2 years ago. Next. And this was from 2006, also in Albuquerque, also a tax credit project, 60 units. And basically the next few slides just show you some of our other projects, multifamily projects. Just quickly, we've done private work, like condominiums. We've done HUD work. We've done work for the USDA, and of course the tax credit program. So, and to expound a little bit on what Jonathan said, we typically come into a community and look for local subs that are capable of doing a project of the size that we plan on building. So we would screen local subcontractors, get references, and make sure they're capable of doing a project this size or any size. And then we would encourage them to bid the project, hold their hand, and make sure that they've covered all bases. So we go out of our way to use local suppliers and local subs as much as possible, provided we have people in the area that can do a project this size. So basically, we've done everything from student dorms to just regular housing on Indian land, to market rate units, to tax credit units. That's pretty much all I have to say. I have some hard copies of our little portfolio I'll leave over here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, that's the presentation for the project. It's our hope that the council will approve the resolution expressing the willingness to donate land towards this project. The project still has a number of levels of review at the MFA level.
Yes.
And, of course, a project going forward like this would have to meet all the town standards as well, receive town review.
Thank you. I believe Councilor Besson has some questions.
This is, you keep using the term affordable housing, but this is really geared towards low income.
This program is 60% of median is the highest allowed. It is adjusted for family size, so it's a pretty wide range. I mean, you could have a family of 5 or 6 in the 4-bedroom. I mean, you could have a bachelor or bachelorette in the 2-bedroom unit. So it's
just a couple more. The rental costs that you projected or you estimated, and I know you said that they would change, or is it the utilities that are changing, but the cost would remain the same, or the rental fees?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, from my perspective, that's like an incredibly key question. The utilities, it just so happens when I called Kathy DeMarco at the local Western Regional Housing Authority, that she's literally in the process of finalizing her 2011 numbers. They'll be a little higher, probably $5 to $10, I'm guessing, meaning those rents might come down $5 to $10 if you were to have this project open right now and built and fully rented. Now, as far as your question, though, I think the key question that I heard you ask is, what happens to the rents over the future?
Well, I actually didn't ask that, but it's sort of a question, and it's sort of the next one, not quite.
Okay.
So I guess my question to you is, and now this is the estimate, in your experience, where do the rents usually land? In the middle of that estimate? I know that they can change by the time the project is completed, but I guess, I mean, I'm just looking at the rents, and I know that personally, I have a 2-bedroom home whose mortgage just changed because I, did some refinancing, but let's just say that my mortgage, which would be like the rental cost, not with the utilities, but pretty much lands into the 2-bed that you have here. So my question is how does that become affordable when those rents are pretty comparable to what people are trying to pay right now for what would be considered substandard housing, or housing that doesn't meet their needs? Our rents are pretty high in town.
Well, to be honest, we don't set the rents. The government does, and Grant County right now, those are the rents that are set with this program for this town, for this county. Utilities we don't set. So we abide by the rules. These are the lowest rents that MFA awards for. In other words, if you went any below this, it's nice, but they don't even give you an incentive. Most people probably come in higher than this. As far as the percentage, I don't mean in dollars, because every county is assessed differently. I'm not sure how to answer your question exactly, except that there's a very comprehensive market study that we have to pay for blindly. I mean, we write a check, Jerry's group is going to write a check to MFA, and they send out a market study firm, and then we obviously have to have a third-party real estate appraiser, too. And if they find there's a huge inconsistency with your rent market, then they'll either advise, don't do it, or bring the rents down even more, or something along those lines. The only thing else I can say is that we are offering a lot of services, and it's new construction. And I'm not implying anything about anybody else's house or anything like that, but you'd have, not that you haven't, but you'd have to compare it against new construction in town with the same sort of amenities. So, Section 8.
I guess the point is that, rents are high because the cost of actually purchasing a home, or purchasing, that then may be rented out is quite, our market's pretty high for that, but we have overall lower wages than most of New Mexico. I can see Jerry kind of.
Yeah. Well.
The reality is, you've got a market, for houses that's pretty high, that most people can afford, which is why we're doing the affordable housing that you heard about before.
Sure.
But on the flip side, you have low wages, so when I look at I was just concerned with the rent structure, because, I realize that's what MFA, did I do that right? Is that the right one, MFA?
It is.
Yeah, okay. The thing, they said that, but the reality is I'm not sure that the folks that are at 60% can afford that either. And I'm just a concern that I'm expressing.
Yeah, well, there's several things. I don't want to bend anyone's ear too much here, if I haven't already. The first thing is, we're not only open to, I've mentioned earlier about the Section 8 program,
Right.
but we encourage it. It's a federal law. We have to open our doors to it anyway, but we'd like to. It's one of the best things we can do. Right now, there's a bit of a wait list at your housing authority for families, and there's no place to house some of these people. So, no, as far as them affording a unit, I think the program more than takes care of them, because they're not allowed to pay more than, I think it's 30% of their actual rent income, of their actual income that's received. This is a long-term commitment. The project's going to remain affordable for 35 to 40 years. So, true, you might have a temporary macroeconomic fluctuation where it's not quite as appealing, but if the trend continues, I didn't think land was that easy to find here, frankly, that really worked for us. That's zoned for apartments, that has full utilities, semi-walking distance to downtown. You're right. We have to pay the mortgage, and believe it or not, once all those grant sources are applied, there's still a mortgage payment, and we have to pay that. So the joke would be on us. If we can't make the payment, if we can't keep it rented, then we'll have to make it work. And that's true with this program. There is no owner subsidy after these subsidies come in. But Jerry may want to add to that a little bit.
Yeah, just quickly, with the Section 8, I understand there's like 69 people on the waiting list currently.
I heard 57.
57, somewhere like that. It fluctuates, but there's a good need that will be assisted. If their income is that low, that they'll have assistance. These projects have worked very well for years throughout the country, and the guidelines that we have to follow, they have it pretty closely figured. So I would anticipate that probably through Section 8 or other assisted programs that they will be able to maintain occupancy.
And then just one's a comment. There was a term that you used in your presentation that only was used once that actually has a negative connotation. And I don't know if anybody else is going to pick it up as quick as I did, but I come from Los Angeles area.
I do
The
too.
term projects has a very negative connotation. So I want to hopefully, I would like you to assure people that this is not a project. These are quality homes that you're proposing, especially when you go to a platinum, almost platinum.
Oh, yeah.
With LEED. That's very important. But I think it's really important to state that, because the term did come out, and I don't want anybody to think that it's going to look like, I'm thinking of LA, so just thought I would bring that up.
I'd like to add a comment to that. We've built market rate units, pretty high-end stuff.
Right.
And we've built tax credit projects. There is no difference in construction costs. There is no difference in specs. If anything, as of this year, actually as of last year, the specs on a tax credit project, because of the point system, they're much more efficient, they're much more green, sustainable construction than even market rate projects.
Well, I did like the platinum, almost platinum.
Almost.
Yeah, I think that's critical to a town that is implementing all sorts of things to create efficiencies, but also go as green as we can. And it fits with the mayor's
Well, you know what?
climate. Okay, I can't say the whole thing. It's so long.
The mayor's committee.
Thank you, the mayor's committee.
One of the distinctions between the classic projects like Cabrini Green in Chicago, or I guess it was in a suburb of the South Side, I don't know, and the, quote, historic projects that everyone's getting away from, is that the tenant was encouraged not to work, and in fact, they were prevented from working. And they had what I'd call a true rent subsidy, meaning that they literally, once they're in for good, unless the program fades away. And here, it's a totally different program. It's actually one of the few, I don't know of any other like this, where once they're in, now if we had what are called market rate units, and we can't afford them, because there's no subsidy on them at all, they would have, if a person like Bill Gates, who moved in with no income and then hit his level of income, they'd have to move into the market rate unit component. There is no market rate unit component. So what's interesting here, to the best of my knowledge, he can stay. So if I moved, or somebody else in the room moved there and qualified, and then tomorrow they make $300,000, we can't kick them out. Now, do we want a bunch of people living there that don't need the subsidy? No. But it does encourage people to work. And that is really the key difference. I think it's a great distinction. There is no rent subsidy. Now, if a person has Section 8 and they bring the voucher with them, it's a federal law. At least in affordable housing, you have to, underwrite them fairly and rent to them unless there's some issue. But here, they have to pay the rent every month, or to be honest, we have no choice. We have these are very thin projects. They're thin to build, they're razor thin to manage, and we have to run a very tight ship, and I think the management company has that I use.
Councilor Morones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, your presentation's answered most of my questions, but one that remains is, if everything lines up, and we're looking at potentially donating 6 acres, that's no different than us donating cash. And I think we've always expressed an interest in getting a return on any type of cash outlay. Alex may have looked at this a little bit, but have you looked at what kind of return we would get on this investment?
As far as the receipts the town would receive as a result of making the land donation, well, I wouldn't say I've evaluated it, but I have done a little research on it, because the issue did come up a little bit with Mike. And all I can say would be something along these lines, is that you'd have to evaluate the gross receipts that the project generates, the property tax revenue that it will be paying. I mean, we're not, unless I think it's a church and a nonprofit combined, and we're not. The ownership entity is actually for profit, because it's a limited partnership that has a nonprofit entity, which is Jerry's Group, in it, but it's still a for-profit entity. We pay taxes like any other apartment deal, but you're bringing in 60 families and making an earnest effort to hire a lot of local subs and suppliers. We are bringing 8.9-ish million, maybe more, into the community. That must help a little bit, and I don't mean to imply anything like that. I think, I can't speak for this, I can have Krishna comment, but I think we're installing some Ts, I think they're called, so that the neighboring development would be better accommodated by virtue of us. And the infrastructure we're bringing in our own side, I think, can be used by possibly neighboring projects. I can ask them, I'm not sure. It's a rare opportunity to attract this kind of capital. They'll have 17, 18 applications. They'll approve 5 or 6, maybe. Most of them won't be, well, I can't comment on what most of them will be like. Half of them will be rehab. They'll just buy an old project, an older affordable housing project. They'll put maybe new windows, doors, carpeting, and maybe some Formica or tile in the kitchen, and that could be construed as a rehab. This is the real deal from the ground up. You could never build this project with market rents right now in most of New Mexico, and so that's why the subsidy. If you have anything to add to that.
Just based on the construction, the one-time investment of this construction, the property is probably would value in the range of between $25,000 and $30,000 that we would be donating. Just on the construction, we'd be bringing in about $240,000 to $250,000 alone on the one-time construction of the development. That doesn't include all of the other things, the infrastructure upgrades, the social services, the ability for other homeowners to upgrade their housing, investment, private investment that comes into the other substandard housing in the neighborhood that hopefully this will help develop. the return on the investment is at least tenfold on the initial investment.
Just up front.
Just upfront, and substantially they're even farther on the other, in the other areas.
Thank you.
Councilor Smith.
I have a comment and a question for Alex. The comment is, it seems to me, just summing it all up, that this is synergistic with Vistas de Plata. In other words, once people are on their feet here, that would be an upward path.
Yes, sir.
My next question is, okay, so let's assume this whole thing falls flat on its face. How badly are we going to get, whatever the word is I usually use, screwed?
Well, we aren't, because they have to go through all the approvals and get everything in place, and then we turn the property over. So we won't get screwed.
The word screw derives from the word thumb screw. It is an acceptable word. Okay, now that answers my question. So.
I want to go back a little bit. This all started at our last meeting when you weren't present.
Correct.
And real minimal knowledge of it. I got a phone call from Alex saying, I got to talk to you, and I got to talk to you now. So he came to my office, he made a presentation on what you were proposing. And I really tried to look at the entire housing market in town. There was a study done a few years back out of a group from Las Cruces that demonstrated extreme substandard properties in town. It also, looking at historical projects that you referenced where people were paid to not work. You know, I've been on subsidy when I was young, and as soon as you make 25 cents over the limit, you get bumped off a subsidy and you're poor again the next month, and right back to qualifying, not to mention possibly homeless. So, you know, I really took a look at how do we take this neighborhood, which has certain designations from both the population, the income, the housing stock that's available there, look at general housing neighborhood development. If we start implanting some good projects into these neighborhoods, we have a chance that the ripple effect is the neighbors do the work that they can to clean up their yards and make it a more desirable neighborhood. The fact that the service programs that are involved in this project to allow people to go from the substandard housing that they're currently in into a low-income housing that is decent quality and gets kids in a good environment to both live, which makes them more eligible and likely to succeed in school. Get them in the programs, hopefully we move them over into Vista de Plata and into their own home ownership. And the resolution before us is very narrow to, do we want to commit some land? I beg the council to look at the overall picture and Councilor Thompson references this almost every meeting, that we have to build community. And in building community, we make kids more likely to succeed. And the return on the investment is great. You know, the tax that Alex can figure in his head in a meeting in 10 minutes is great. It gives us a push of revenue that lasts very shortly. What gives us the best return on investment is producing a community that is more sustainable, more self-sustainable on their own and not dependent on subsidy, and better contributors to society and this town. And that's truly why this project even ended up on the agenda tonight, is trying to look at, and I tell you this, it was the social service programs, education programs that got my attention and made me start thinking of what is the bigger picture. So I appreciate you actually doing a complete package and not, here's a house, go make something happen in your life. I don't think that's proven to be overly successful. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor.
I move to approve Resolution number 2011-05, a resolution expressing the willingness of the town council to donate 6 1/2 acres to Jonathan Reed and Associates to support a tax credit project in the Brewer Hill area.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2011-05 as read. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilor Morales?
Aye.
Councilor Livingston? Councilor Thompson?
Aye.
Councilor Edison?
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2011-04, a resolution of sponsorship for a Safe Routes to School Phase 2 infrastructure award. Mr. Pena.
Mayor, Council, what this resolution will do is let us enter into an agreement with the NMDOT Safe Routes to School program. We've been awarded $250,000 to replace a bridge that leads to the Jose Barrios School. What we intend to do is expand on that bridge in order to link Little Walnut Road to Virginia Street. We do have links that will lead into the school. We'll have links that will go into the old Waterworks building. It will also lead into the Virginia Street Park. So we see this as a really positive project, not only just a bridge project, but it's like a neighborhood project that will allow kids to go to and from Little Walnut to Virginia, to the park, to the school, that people, walk through these areas, and is a good project.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I guess this is a project that's been going on for quite a while, and just like to make the comment that Peter Pena has been working with the bicycle, walkability, and accessibility groups extensively. He was always been entirely available for any questions that group had. And he was also willing to talk with the folks that are working on the Waterworks building, so that was spectacular. And Alex Brown, similarly, was always accessible to any questions that those two groups had. It's a really nice project that is an integration of the town's efforts and the school systems and volunteers. I mean, we just don't ever see those three groups working together like this. And Public Works has done a spectacular job. I was really impressed, and I think Justin Reese was the first.
Right. Justin is the one that originally wrote this grant, and I believe he's been gone about 2 years. So it's been a lengthy time that this has been in progress, but with this resolution, we can enter the agreement. We have our engineers on board. They're ready to get started on the design. It's not a long period of time as far as construction time. I do feel that we could probably get this project done. If we do get our grant agreement soon, we could probably get it started and completed before school starts in August.
Okay, my usual questions. How much is our match?
We will be paying for the design, which will roughly be about $30,000.
Okay. And we've been paying for that over the past few years. And it is still in the budget and all that good stuff. Okay, that answers my questions. Thank you.
The grant is $250,000. We've been paying for design and engineering costs over the life of this long project. And I do want to give a lot of credit to Public Works, because when they applied and through the work that they've done, this was one of the largest phase 2 Safe Routes to School projects funded. And actually, they funded us, Silver City, a phase 2 project before they did any phase 1 funding. So that's sort of why we're stuck holding on to this for a while.
We're one of the very first communities to be funded in the phase 2 part of the Safe Routes to School.
So that's why it's taken so long, because the cart came before the horse, so we had to get, the horses had to get in place so we could do that. the cart part here, so.
Catch that, Tim? In here, it says that the town will be responsible for any overages over the 250. Is this project scalable so that if it ended up at 300, we could possibly scale it down?
Yes, and we'll make sure that what we do is we'll do some additive alternates to make sure that we can keep it within the budget. The project will be ADA accessible and will meet all federal standards.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, for approval of resolution number 2011-04, a resolution of sponsorship for a Safe Routes to School Phase 2 infrastructure award.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
There's a motion and second to approve resolution 2011-04. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and second to approve resolution 2011-04 and no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Council Edison?
Aye.
Council Thompson?
Aye.
Council Reason?
Aye.
Council Moore?
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval disapproval of resolution number 2011-06, a resolution adopting an emergency operations plan for the town of Silver City, Grand County, New Mexico. And just for the record, we're continuing to work on it. It's still in draft, and we've got some time to do that. No deadlines we're up against, correct, Chief?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
I say on the emergency operations plan, we're not up against any deadlines. We have the time to address some of the concerns that I...
No, that's correct. That's correct.
Councilor Bedison.
Mr. Mayor, I move to postpone approval, disapproval of resolution number 2011-06, a resolution adopting an emergency operations plan for the town of Silver City, Grant County, New Mexico.
There's a motion, there's a second.
Second the motion, Mr. Stacy.
There's a motion and a second to postpone action on resolution 2011-06. Any discussion? There's a motion and a second, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is review and give staff direction on the proposal for construction of Penny Park.
Mayor and Council, last meeting? Can't remember. Been going through this for so long. But it's been, direction was given to staff after I informed the council that the designs were completed for the reconstruction of the section that burned down, and you asked to wait to allow the public for input for alternate ways of viewing the construction. I have not received any other proposals, so it's staff's recommendation to go through the contractor.
There's not a whole lot of people left, but is there anybody here to present a plan? I would recommend that the council authorize the town manager to proceed with standard contracting process to complete a job. Councilor Winston?
I would concur with that with a comment, and I do think we ought to thank those who did put together the volunteer team before we discovered the arsenic issue and things like that, because they put a lot of effort into it. They had subcommittees, they did all sorts of good things like that, and I'm still in favor of volunteers doing it, but I think life has caught up with us. They deserve a lot of thanks for that effort.
Yes, we do. We thank them. We'll continue to utilize as much volunteers for maintenance and different types of things like that. But we want to get this project hopefully constructed by spring. We can accomplish that.
Well, I agree.
There's no objection.
No, done.
You have your direction.
Thank you.
Last but not least, you think we should take a recess before we do this? Last item on the agenda is
Go, Nick.
approval disapproval of resolution number 2011-07, a resolution supporting a Main Street application for award. Mr. Seibel, sir.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. I believe Councilor Moronis actually sponsored this resolution, so I kind of got thrown to the wolves here, but did you want to say something before I say something?
Well, it's just, it's a wonderful award that we've already went through the application for, like, the first phase to actually qualify for this award. And we're one of 10 communities that are eligible for this award, and now the local Main Street project is vying for 5 awards, and it's just a huge accomplishment even to get through that first phase. Congratulations.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, we are semi-finalists for the Great American Main Street Award, which is the National Main Street Award that's given by the National Main Street Center of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Of course, Silver City Main Street Project celebrated its 25th anniversary last year, and we were also the recipient of the Silver Star Award for 25 years of downtown redevelopment excellence from New Mexico Main Street. So we were well positioned to apply for this award this year. There are hundreds of Main Street programs across the country, and although the Great American Main Street Award has been given for a number of years by the National Main Street Center, no program in New Mexico has ever won this award. This year we are the only program in New Mexico that is among the semifinalists. So as Councilor Moronis said, there are 10 semifinalists and there are 5 awards given. So even if we submitted a lackluster application, we would have a 50% chance of winning. Of course, since we are Silver City, we have no intention of submitting a lackluster application.
Nice recovery.
And to that end, the resolution you have before you this evening is an important part of our finalist application, and I thank you for the language there. Grant County and the other elected officials of Grant County have already signed a similar resolution supporting the award, and I'd like to thank them for that as well. Now, individually, as members of the council and members of the community, there's an opportunity for folks to submit letters of support for this award as well. We're allowed to submit up to 30 letters of support, which means, I think, the translation of that is you better submit 30 letters of support. We've got some great letters so far from all segments of the community, but if you'd like to have your letter included, we would love to have it. And we're asking that they be turned into us, our office in the Silico Theater, by Friday, February 4th, which is about a week and a half from now. And just a one-page letter on letterhead if you're from a business or organization, signed and addressed to the Great American Main Street Awards jury. And what you say in there is up to you. You could certainly cite any number of the accomplishments of our community in Main Street. A lot of those can be found on our website at silvercitymainstreet.com. But what I'm really looking for is personal connections to downtown, either your experiences downtown, in the promotions of the Lighted Christmas Parade or the celebration of spring, or experiences that you've had downtown with the running of the puppets, for instance, or just memories of shopping downtown when you were younger, or how downtown has changed since 1985 when Main Street began. There's all different sort of tacks you could take, and think about how you could tell someone that's never been to Silver City, to our downtown, what it means to you and why they should give us this award. So anyone that would be interested, I'll be happy to visit with you. Send me an email, nick@silvercitymainstreet.com, or call me 313-9831. I'll be happy to visit with you about it. And last but not least, the other component of this award application is we have to submit a video about our downtown. And being that we are Silver City, we decided we didn't just want to put together 5 minutes of this is Silver City. We wanted to do a little more showing than telling. So what we're putting together as a downtown community is a music video about downtown Silver City. And most folks are familiar with the song Downtown. It was sung originally by Petula Clark. Came out in 1964, I believe. And we're taking that song. We have the the player piano role for that, for our player piano in the Silco Theater. So we're going to use that as the backing track, and we're going to assign lines of the song to various business people in the community, and they will sing their line in their place of business, and we will videotape that and edit it all together into a music video representing our downtown community. That filming is going to be going on this weekend, but the important part of that, as far as you and the rest of the community is concerned, is the final scene in that video. The final line of the song is "Downtown, everything's waiting for you." And that final line, we're asking everyone in the community to come join us under the Downtown Gateway Arch next Tuesday, February 1st at 8:30 in the morning. And we will be filming the last line of that song with as many people as show up singing that in unison. And obviously, for this to be truly effective, we're hoping that we'll have hundreds of folks out there. And we've already had made arrangements with the Public Works Department to handle traffic control for that. And Chief Reynolds has graciously allowed us to close the street for that morning for that filming. So it's going to be a big moment for our community, and we plan on distributing this video on YouTube, and it'll be on CATS as well as submitting it as our award application. So it's your opportunity to be a YouTube star and come together with your community in a truly memorable moment.
Before Alex says anything, you know Town Hall is downtown.
I am aware, yes.
And if you could assign Alex some extra lines, that would be appreciated.
Asking for someone from the town to sing. You are the chief executive officer. You were offered up.
I was not there to defend myself.
And Mayor Pro Tem is
And I will be in Santa Fe.
And Mayor Pro
Sorry to
Tem will
report.
not stand in for that, because she can't sing at all. Just wanted to say,
Well, I understand that an officer from the police department will be appearing in the video, singing a line. We'll have a line from the barber shop, from the Silver Clipper. They'll be down there singing. District Judge Quintero has agreed to sing a line in his judge's chamber, so we'll have that happening as well. Really, it's just an amazing cross-section of the people downtown that are coming together to make this happen. I think it's going to be a tremendous amount of fun. I've told people if it turns out even a quarter as cool in real life as it is in my head, it's going to be amazing. So.
You have a lot of strange things in your head.
I won't argue with you. So again, I'll remind folks, come out. It'll only take a half hour, so 8:30 Tuesday, February 1st. It'll be in the papers, and it's going to be on the morning show next week and talk about it. But if you have a business, you have some employees, you can stand to let them go for half an hour, ship them all down to Broadway. Because really, this is not just about downtown. This is about our entire community and 25 years of accomplishment that an awful lot of folks have worked awfully hard for.
Very good. Any other discussion? Comments?
Oh, I was just going to say, I hope that Alex will be singing the part in the town hall.
I told him I would lip sync, but nothing more.
So, when he lips, I want you to use the original artist
Truva Brown.
as the actual voice that comes out of his lips. Thank you. Councilor Morales.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2011-07, a resolution supporting a Main Street application for award.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution 2011-07. Is there any other discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve resolution 2011-07. No further discussion. Roll call.
Councilor Morales.
Aye.
Councilor Whitman. Councilor Johnston.
Aye.
Councilor Bowles.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Motion carries. And if you could hold that 1 second. I want to remind everybody watching at home, because there's hardly anybody left, that you have about till the next town council meeting to get comments submitted for the Essential Air Service Program on what your choices are out of the proposals. Councilor Winsmith.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
I second the motion stated.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.